Item hashtag SCP-096. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-096 is to be contained in its cell, a 5m x 5m x 5m airtight steel cube, at all times. Weekly checks for any cracks or holes are mandatory. There are to be absolutely no video surveillance or optical tools of any kind inside SCP-096 cell. Security personnel will use pre-installed pressure sensors and laser detectors to ensure SCP-096 presence inside the cell. Any and all photos, video, or recordings of SCP-096 likeness are strictly forbidden without approval from Dr. and O5. Description: SCP-096 is a humanoid creature measuring approximately 2.38 meters in height. Subject shows very little muscle mass, with preliminary analysis of body mass suggesting mild malnutrition. Arms are grossly out of proportion with the rest of the subject's body, with an approximate length of 1.5 meters each. Skin is mostly devoid of pigmentation, with no sign of any body hair. SCP-096 jaw can open to 4 times the norm of an average human. Other facial features remain similar to an average human, with the exception of the eyes, which are also devoid of pigmentation. It is not yet known whether SCP-096 is blind or not. It shows no signs of any higher brain functions and is not considered to be sapient. SCP-096 is normally extremely docile, with pressure sensors inside its cell indicating it spends most of the day pacing by the eastern wall. However, when someone views SCP-096's face, whether it be directly, via video recording, or even a photograph, it will enter a stage of considerable emotional distress. SCP-096 will cover its face with its hands and begin screaming, crying, and babbling incoherently. Approximately 1 to 2 minutes after the first viewing, SCP-096 will begin running to the person who viewed its face, who will from this point on be referred to as SCP-096-1. Documented speeds have varied from 35 km/h to km/h and seems to depend on distance from SCP-096-1. At this point, no known material or method can impede SCP-096 progress. The actual position of SCP-096-1 does not seem to affect SCP-096 response. It seems to have an innate sense of SCP-096-1's location. Note: this reaction does not occur when viewing artistic depictions. See Document 096-1. Upon arriving at SCP-096-1's location, SCP-096 will proceed to kill and data expunged SCP-096-1. 100% of cases have left no traces of SCP-096-1. SCP-096 will then sit down for several minutes before regaining its composure and becoming docile once again. It will then attempt to make its way back to its natural habitat. Data redacted. Due to the possibility of a mass chain reaction, including breach of Foundation secrecy and large civilian loss of life, retrieval of subject should be considered alpha priority. Dr. has also petitioned for immediate termination of SCP-096. See Interview 096-1. Order is awaiting approval. Termination order has been approved and is to be carried out by Dr. on data redacted. See Incident 096-1A. Audio log from Interview 096-1. Interviewer: Dr. Interviewed: Captain Rhett, former commander of Retrieval Team Zulu 9A. Retrieval Incident hashtag 096-1A. Begin log. Time: Research Area. Captain: it always sucks ass to get initial retrieval duty. You have no idea what the damn thing is capable of besides what jacked up information the field techies can scrape up, and you're lucky if they even tell you the whole story. They told us to bag and tag. Didn't tell us jack's hit about not looking at the damn thing. Doctor: could you describe the mission, please? Captain: yeah, sorry. We had 2 choppers, one with my team and one on backup with Zulu 9B and Dr. We spotted the target about 2 clicks north of our patrol path. I'm guessing he wasn't facing our direction, else he would have taken us out then and there. Doctor, your report says SCP-096 didn't react to the cold?
It was OC.
Captain, actually it was. And yes, it was but naked and didn't so much as shiver. Anyway, we landed, approached the target, and Corporal got ready to bag it. That's when Doctor called. I turned to answer it, and that's what saved me. The target must have turned, and my whole squad saw it. Doctor, that's when SCP-096 entered an agitated emotional state? Captain, yep. Interviewed now pauses for a second before continuing, sorry. Got the willies for a second.
Doctor, that's all right.
Captain, yeah. Well, I never saw its face. My squad did, and they paid for it up the ass. Doctor, could you describe it a little more, please? Captain, pauses, yeah. It started screaming at us, and crying. Not animal roaring though, sounded exactly like a person. Really fucking creepy. Pauses again, we started firing when it picked up Corporal, and ripped off his leg. God, he was screaming for our help fucking anyway, we were blowing chunks out of the target, round after round. Didn't do Jack's hit. I almost lost it when it started, Data expunged him. Doctor, that's when you ordered the use of and papers are heard moving at for HEDT launcher? Captain, an anti-tank gun. Started carrying it ever since SCP got loose. I've seen those tear through tanks like tissue paper. Did the same thing to the target. Doctor, there was significant damage to SCP-096? Captain, it didn't even fucking flinch. It kept tearing apart my squad, but with half of its torso gone. He draws a large half circle across his torso. Doctor, but it was taking damage? Captain, if it wasn't showing it. It must have lost all its organs, all its blood, but it didn't acknowledge any of it. Its bone structure wasn't hurt at all, though. It kept tearing my squad apart. Doctor, so no actual structural damage. How many rounds would you say were fired at SCP-096? Captain, at the least? 1,000. Our door gunner kept his GU-19 on it for at least 20 seconds. 20 fucking seconds. That's 600.50 caliber rounds pumped into the thing. Might as well been spitting at it. Doctor, this is when Zulu 9B arrived? Captain, yeah, and my squad was gone. Zulu 9B managed to get the bag over its head, and it just sat down. We got it into the chopper and got it here. I don't know how I never saw its face. Maybe God or Buddha or whoever thought I should live. The jackass. Doctor, we have obtained an artist's depiction of SCP-096's face. Would you like to view it? Captain. Pauses, after hearing that thing screams and the screams of my men, I don't think I want to put a face to what I heard.
No.
Just no. Doctor. All right, I believe we are done here. Thank you, Captain. Chairs are heard moving, and footsteps leave the room. Captain Rhett is confirmed to have left interview room 22. Doctor, let this be on record that I am formally requesting SCP-096 be terminated as soon as possible. End log. Incident 096-1A. So, containment has been attained. Yes, Doctor. Let me see the security footage. Begin log. A large steel cube is shown in the middle of a research lab, which is teeming with a dozen or so researchers. In view of the camera is a control booth, displaying readings from the various sensors inside the cube. Fast forward 1 minute, 32 seconds. The control booth operator leans forward, alerted to the various readings on the sensors. Approximately 5 seconds later, a steel wall on the containment cube receives a sizable dent bending outward. The dent becomes larger before breaking. SCP-096 is seen bending the steel away, frantically trying to escape. Emergency plates drop on the cube as a containment breach is sounded. The security tape has SCP-096's face blurred out as per containment protocol. 2 security teams enter the room as SCP-096 breaks out of containment. Live rounds and tranquilizer darts are fired to no visible effect. Approximately 90% of researchers and security personnel have directly viewed SCP-096's face, and a code Lima is declared. The room and surrounding areas are sealed and flushed with class nerve agent. Approximately 2 minutes later, SCP-096 breaches research site and travels km/h through the outside desert, traveling. End log. Echo Romeo was assigned to immediate containment breach. When we realized just how big a breach we were dealing with, we were completely overwhelmed. Funny how even the best and brightest minds in the world can be so unprepared. So, you're saying it is your own fault? Absolutely not. This was a new discovery in SCP-096's behavior. We had no way to know, and we are lucky it did not turn into an XK. Begin log. Helmcam footage from R1. Footage from inside a UH-60 shows SCP-096 on the desert floor, moving at considerable speed. Yare. This is Echo Romeo Actual. We have visual of the target. Unintelligible. At data expunged knots and increasing. Yare listens to the radio as orders, identified as coming from Dr. Dan, are relayed. SCP-096 can be seen slowly gaining speed. Yare motions off camera. ER-3 appears, holding a modified XM500 anti-material rifle. 2 shots are fired. The first misses and the second hits SCP-096 in the lower leg. SCP-096 stumbles but recovers. Speed change is insignificant. ERA, unintelligible. Pete, no effect on target. Yare motions to ER-3 again. ER-3 fires 3 more shots. The first 2 miss, and the third hits SCP-096 in the head. SCP-096 falls, skids, and rolls several times, reducing its speed minimally. SCP-096 rolls to its feet and continues unabated. Camera pans up to C-8V-22 Ospreys, belonging to MTF Tau-1, flying overhead and past the helicopters on the same outbound vector as SCP-096. Camera cuts out. End log. Begin log. Video interview log 096-1A. Dr. Alexei appears very calm, determined, and answers all questions slowly and deliberately. Interviewer: where were you exactly at the time of breach? Dr. Alexei: on break getting a cup of coffee. It was pure luck I wasn't caught in the containment area. Interviewer: describe your actions directly after the containment breach. Dr. Alexei: I sent Echo Romeo after SCP-096 and alerted Dr. Dan to the situation. We then set upon the task of locating SCP-096-1. Once the general direction of SCP-096 was determined, I sent Mobile Task Force Tau-1 ahead to evacuate civilian population centers in SCP-096's path. All according to containment protocol. End log. Begin log. Video interview log 096-1B. Dr. Daniel Dan sits patiently. On the table in front of him is what looks to be a set of modified night vision goggles. Interviewer: for the record, where were you exactly during SCP-096's containment breach? Dr. Dan: in the data expunged mountain range, trying to find more information on SCP-096's origins. It was a quick research expedition, so I left Dr. Alexei in charge of containment. He is competent enough, if a bit eager, and has proved himself in the past. This is all confirmed by the various related paperwork, so don't go thinking. Interviewer: it was just for the record, Doctor. Now, knowing that SCP-096 is immune to all known forms of damage while in an enraged state, why would you order the sniper attacks from the emergency response team?
Dr. Dan: why not?
If there was a chance to slow down SCP-096 and give MTF Tau one more time, then we had to try it. It put ER in no danger, and the choppers were in danger of being outrun anyway. Honestly, ER could do little else to help or harm the situation. Interviewer: I see. Now, could you explain this? Interviewer motions to the goggles lying on the table.
Dr. Dan: yes.
This is Project Scramble, an eyepiece we assigned to ER and MTF Tau-1, designed by Dr. Alexei and myself specifically for SCP-096. It carries a small microprocessor which constantly analyzes the viewing field for the facial features of SCP-096. Facial recognition software inside instantly identifies them, scrambling the image into an unrecognizable mess before the light reaches the human eye. It's quite ingenious, really. Interviewer, and expensive.
Dr. Dan, very.
Which is why it's such a shame it didn't work. End log. Begin log. Audio transcript between MTF Tau 1 and modified EG 3 Sentry AWACS. Call sign Big Brother. MTF T1. Ospreys in the air, moving. Data expunged at. Data expunged. Awaiting vector. Big Brother. Electronics online. Cruising altitude reached. Uploading program Scramble to all camera systems. Cameras online. Big Brother is now watching. MTF T1. What outbound vector is the target currently heading? Big Brother. Target is currently westbound, traveling on shit. Yeah, he's on the I-40. I think he just flipped a semi. Outbound vector is data expunged degrees by data expunged. Next town on this vector is data expunged. I'd say a couple 100 kilometers. Shit. MTF. We're suggesting Echo Romeo begin evacuating the I-40. I don't know how many cars the target has wrecked. MTF T1. Hold 1. That's a negative, Big Brother. R is reporting that the target is outrunning her choppers. They can't get ahead of him. Big Brother. Then get them to stop the motorists on the other lane. I don't know how many people have seen this thing's face. End log. The first 3 elements of Tau 1 succeeded in gathering the townsfolk in the first 3 towns without incident. SCP-096-1 was confirmed to not be in any of these when SCP-096 ran through each in turn without stopping. However, a video log in MTF Tau shows SCP-096-1 being identified in the town of Data Expunged and the ensuing incident. Show it. Begin log. Helmcam footage from Element 4 of MTF Tau 1 in the town of Data Expunged. Most of the townspeople are gathered in the square, all blindfolded. Helicopters sweep the town. Indistinct orders are heard over loudspeakers from both the helicopters and ground personnel. MTF T1, over Taucom radio and loudspeakers, the target is entering proximity zone. All units activate Scramble gear and begin crowd control procedures. All civilians are not to move from their spot or remove their blindfolds. If you move or touch your blindfold, you will be shot. I repeat, all civilians are. Orders are drowned out by a loud shriek coming from outside the camera's view. Approximately 2 kilometers away, SCP-096 is seen to be coming over the crest of the hills. It tries to slow down on the descent but trips and tumbles down at high speed, crashing through several houses before regaining its footing almost without delay. Unknown voice-over loudspeakers. Unintelligible. Civilians are not to move. You will be shot. I reap. Unintelligible. Several shots are heard, none of which are directed at SCP-096. SCP-096 stops for 1 second before running into the crowd of townsfolk, throwing many aside and trampling more. More shots are heard as the crowd begins dispersing, the loudspeakers unintelligible under the vocalizations of SCP-096. SCP-096 locates SCP-096-1, a middle-aged man, and the camera views SCP-096 grabbing him before it is hit by a fleeing townsperson and is dislocated from the helmet. End log. Begin log. Video interview log 096-1C. Major Jack Wilford, current commander of MTF Tau 1, I was looking through SCP-096-1's house with my squad. Poor bastard was a semi-pro mountaineer, took a trip to the... Apparently, he took a snapshot of the landscape and just happened to catch SCP-096 in the background. Wilford holds up 4 fingers for emphasis. Wilford, 4 pixels. 4 fucking pixels. I doubt the guy even knew what he saw. He was probably just looking at the picture one day, noticed an off-color patch of snow, and went on with his day. Interviewer. How did you find it? Wilford. Our Scramble gear picked it up right away. The lieutenant got the picture and took it down to the chopper before I ever got to see it. By then the damn monster had taken down Big Brother, and it had peeled open the former, Major Striker. All hell was breaking loose. Interviewer. So the Scramble gear was ineffective? Wilford. Ineffective? The goddamn Scramble were pieces of shit that killed the whole damn task force. You know, only 3 people are alive besides me? All because some retard egghead thought of a state-of-the-art countermeasure to SCP-096's hostile reaction. Those bloody idiots could have just put a bag over the target's head and be done with it, but no, we had to use state-of-the-fucking-art Scramble. End log. Begin log. Dr. Dan. What did that fucker call me? Dr. Dan pushes back from the table and begins standing up. Dr. Dan, I'll show that goddamn son of a bitch what an egghead is after I bash open his. Interviewee begins shouting and cursing. 2 guards enter the room and push Dr. Dan back into the seat. Interviewer, do we need to administer a sedative, doctor? Dr. Dan takes a breath and smooths his coat. Dr. Dan, no. I apologize. Size, Scramble was really an ingenious idea. However, it was a failure because we did not fully know how SCP-096 worked. You see, as the chip inside Scramble picked up SCP-096's facial features and began scrambling them, there was a split second of uninterrupted light flow to the retina. Computers are fast, but not as fast as light. So, there was a split-second image of SCP-096's direct face sent to the brain. It wasn't even consciously received, but apparently it was enough to trigger the hostile reaction in SCP-096. Interviewer. So, with this report of the photograph, Dr. Dan, that's the most disturbing part of this whole incident. You know when the former SCP-096-1 went on his mountain trip? 199. That's years of that photo hanging there before he saw SCP-096. Since the brain doesn't need to be aware that it is viewing SCP-096's face to trigger the reaction, there can be ticking time bombs hidden literally anywhere in the world. How many photographs are out there containing SCP-096, just going unnoticed, waiting for a careful eye? As I said before, I want this thing terminated.
Now.
End log. Just a quick question, Doctor. What exactly were you planning on doing there? Major Jack Wilford was top-notch SBS when we recruited him. I was also a recon corpsman, sir, and was deployed in the Caucasus. Marines beat SBS. No, they don't. Enough, both of you. Moving on. Begin log. Video interview log 096-1D. Chief Master Sergeant, door gunner under Echo Romeo. I got the bag over its head. Interviewer. Yes, you've told me that. Could you tell me exactly what transpired? It was done with all its... It was sitting there in the highway. Just got done ripping open a minivan. Interviewee is silent. Interviewer. And? Wes landed the chopper. I got out and bagged it. I put the bag over its head. It got calm, and they took it. Interviewer. So, the victims in the minivan were the last to have viewed SCP-096's face? Interviewee is silent. Interviewer. Interviewee remains silent for the remainder of the interview and was released. He was later found in his bunk room, having committed suicide via hanging with a makeshift rope. A half-crushed pacifier was found in his fist. End log. Begin log. Video log 096-1D. Confiscated tape from news broadcast, CNN. The image shows first responders surrounding the remains of a crashed plane over the shoulder of a field reporter. Reporter. The plane, which seems to be military in origin, has no outward markings designating it as a part of the U.S. military. While first responders look for a black box recording, it is thought by police that the plane crashed due to a massive cabin breach in both the cockpit and fuselage. The reporter motions to a large hole in the side of the plane, which several firefighters are climbing inside. Reporter. Paramedics have only found 3 bodies, which is odd for a plane apparently requiring a crew of around 20 men. Police have suggested the reporter is cut off as 3 super stallions are shown hovering overhead, 2 of which land and begin unloading troops belonging to MTF Epsilon. MTF E1. Shut off the camera. Shut off the motherfucking. End log. Begin log. Dr. Alexei, so are we finished here? Interviewer. One last question, Doctor. Or statement as it seems. We find it interesting that there was no break room at research site. Or coffee. Interviewee remains silent. Interviewer. We think it would be best if you begin talking. Remainder of video interview log 096-1 no redacted. End log. I don't see what that has to do with me. There is no reason to play dumb, Doctor. He's told us everything. Well then, I guess there's no use feigning anything, is there? Audio recording. 05 hearing. 05-1. Upon reviewing your testimony and available footage and the confession of the late Dr. Alexei, it is the unanimous agreement of the 05 that you are to be terminated for your part in the gross breach of SCP-096, Dr. Dan, and I thought you would know the meaning of, for the greater good, 05-1. Do not try my patience, Doctor. Given the incident scope and potential, the 05 have approved your request for the termination of SCP-096. Given the lack of personnel with understanding of SCP-096, the termination will be entrusted to you, under heavy guard and the personal supervision of me. Your own termination will be scheduled at a later date. End log. That is horrible, Doctor. How could you knowingly dash? It worked. There was only a matter of time until that happened in a major population center, and its face spread over the world news. I can kill 096, but I've killed myself in the process.